Yeah, this is my review of the Apolo ADR-125, aka Venom Thunder. I've gotten it at Venom Motorsports Canada on their website. It's a pretty good bike actually. There's no engine filter or anything like that onto it. So what you have to do is you have to kind of replace the oil relatively frequently. It was missing a couple screws from factory. Nothing there. There's nothing there. Nothing back here. So that was kind of unfortunate, but the fairing seems to stay on because it just kind of clips into place, so it wasn't the biggest deal, but it was kind of unfortunate. The shifter retaining screw that it came with, that's not the stock shifter down there, but that retaining screw up on top, it was only in like half a thread cross-threaded when I first got it. So that was kind of a pain in the ass. But what happened was with that is I hit a root kind of coming down through a trail, and it stripped the teeth off of the shifter because the shifter is made out of a softer material than the shifter bolt. So it just stripped the shifter, and I just slapped the shifter I bought on Amazon onto it. But that was entirely my fault. The seat's somewhat uncomfortable for adults because the soft point's kind of right there at the center, and that's kind of pretty close forward for an adult. So that's a little bit unpleasant, but it's not the end of the world, especially since it's a pit bike. It's not like a full-size dirt bike meant for men. It's probably originally meant for people maybe 15 years old or something like that. But, I mean, it's still fun to rip around on, and most bikes of this nature are going to be a similar scenario, so that's not out of the ordinary. Normally starts on either the first or the second crank, so that's kind of nice. The price on the bike is about $1,600. It's about $2,000 by the time you've got it delivered with taxes to Nova Scotia, and that comes in at around a third the price of Japanese bikes of similar kind of features. So, seeing as how its price point is so good, realistically, even if the thing is a piece of shit, you could just go and buy another one, use the original as a parts bike or anything. It's it's a pretty good deal, really. So you can tell it's not a brand new bike. Seeing as I've got a little bit of wear started down on the knobbies. She's got 18 hours on the gauge there, so I've run it for a bit, first season with it. Just gonna kind of get good views of it or something. Yeah, as you can tell, it's a Venom Thunder. They've actually got the branding on the crankcase, which is kind of cool. I think you can get the same bike at Canadian Tire, but the difference being that the one at Canadian Tire I think is branded as an ADR-125, whereas this one is branded as a Venom Thunder, and I don't think that the Canadian Tire variant comes with the front headlight, which was kind of nice, really. I can probably drive it at night if I want to. I've never done that, so I don't know how effective that headlight is, but I'm sure it's better than nothing. As far as oil changes, I do them roughly every 8 hours, and that seems to work out okay for me. I don't think I'd want to stretch it much longer than 8 hours, and that's about how often I do up the chain too. Like, the chain will get a little loose, and I don't really clean the chain like I should, so I imagine that the sprockets in the chain will probably fail a lot sooner than what they should, but that's entirely on me. That's not an issue with the bike. That's just an issue with me not wanting to maintain the things that I buy. when I think about it, I mean, I could clean it after every ride like some of these guys do, and it'd probably last me 3 times longer. But when you consider the fact that, I mean, a chain's going to be maybe $70 for a real good chain, and the sprockets are going to be, I don't know what they would be, but if I've got to spend an hour after every ride cleaning the thing, when the parts are about that price, makes it a little hard to justify when you consider the lifespan of the part, even if you keep it dirty and never give it a bath. The fork seals, they're not leaking or anything, which is kind of nice. You would expect from cheap Chinese shit for there to be leaking fork seals or whatever coming right up as soon as you buy it, but no, I haven't had any issues on that front. I did have an issue with the brakes locking up, the rear brakes, and I'm not sure what that's caused from, but they did it once or twice, and it was only after heavy braking. So I don't know, just don't give it heavy braking on the rear brakes. I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave it as is anyway, and if I get it too often, I'll just end up fixing it or changing the brake fluid and seeing how that works out for me. But I mean, for now, it's not a huge deal. It's it seems to kind of resolve itself after you give the bike a little rest and try to pry it open with a screwdriver or something. The problem solves itself. But let's see what else to talk about. Well, I lost a reflector. I'm not sure where that went, but keep an eye on those, because you will probably lose them. They'll vibrate off or whatever. Not a big deal. Something you probably get at a dollar store even, or wherever. Not sure how that broke. I don't know. I haven't been riding it easy, so you know, anything could have happened. Brush probably is my guess. I do a lot of woods riding, so it just kind of happens. Is there a chip out of that? No. Okay. I thought a little piece of grease was a chip out of my sprocket. That'd be a little worrisome. As far as noise, it's relatively loud, but you kind of want it to be, because you don't want the wildlife running right out in front of you while you're driving around the backwoods, and that could be rather dangerous. I've had some deer come pretty close, actually, even despite it being loud, so do keep an eye out for that, because, I mean, you don't want to end up being a statistic. That's no fun for anybody. So this has been Crack and Throttle, and have a good one, everyone. Forgot to mention the oil that I use. I've been using a Castrol GTX 10W40, and it seems to work pretty good. The oil that came in this originally, it was really terrible oil. Like, it didn't want to shift properly. It was so bad. So my advice is, as soon as you get the bike, dump that shit right out. And I mean, you can get better oil than this. This is just cheap shit, but it's better than what came in it, so that'll give you an idea of how bad that is. But it seems to shift alright with the Castrol GTX 10W40. So, I mean, if cost is a bit of an issue to you and you don't like paying a bunch of money, I mean, cheap Wally World oil, that'll do the trick.